If you don't have a Bible, you'll find one in the pew, hopefully in front of you or in the center section there at on the back. I have a cold, so yeah, I got a whole box of Kleenexes. I don't need a pulpit, I just need a Kleenex stand, for tears and nose. Okay. There's generally, I've noticed, at least in my life and in the life of a lot of people who claim to follow Jesus, two camps that we can easily fall into. One camp over here, let's say, is the camp that is exactly what we've been talking about, but taken to the extreme degree where, you know what, all I need to do is believe in Jesus and I'm forgiven for my sin. And I'm going to spend eternity with him when I die. I'm counting on that. And so I got that ticket in my pocket, and I'm good to go. And it doesn't need to impact the way that I live. It doesn't need to influence how I do things. I'm good to go. I'm forgiven. And then I carry on doing whatever I want. Oh, and if I feel bad about my sin, maybe now and then I'll just ask God to forgive me, and he'll forgive me. And I'm good, right? And that's that whole idea that all I got to do is believe, and I get the ticket to heaven and stick it in my pocket and then go on like nothing has changed. We have that group of people, right? And then we have this group of people over here that is more like this. You know what? I really don't want to make God angry, and I really don't want to disappoint him, and I really want him to make my day go well and bless me, and so I'm going to do as many things as I can do, because in order to make God happy, I need to do these things. And so I need to make sure I go to church because, that's like number one, right? And then I need to, maybe I need to give something. Other people are doing that. Pastor Tim's always talking about serving, and maybe I should do that. And man, there's still things in my life that aren't going well. God still might not be happy. My guilt is still not fixed. Maybe I should start reading my Bible every day and maybe spend time in prayer. And I don't want to do this one, but maybe tell my coworker about Jesus. I don't know. I got to do all these things to please God, right? And we have these two extremes. God's already pleased, and so I can go do whatever I want. It doesn't matter. I'm already forgiven, past, present, and future. And, wow, I might be forgiven, but God's not. I just have to do all these things for him to be pleased, right? And in Sunday school, we might have learned that, man, God is really going to be disappointed with you if you do. God is really going to be sad if you don't. Right? And I grew up learning those things. At least that's how and so I have fallen into both of these camps, and it's easy to do because there are true things in both of them. Right? There's truth in this that I am completely okay with God based solely on what I believe. Right? There is truth in actually the way that I live is important. Right? But in and of themselves, these things are totally wrong, and you can be in one of these camps and can be completely unforgiven for your sin, all right? Which should make us pause and go, And as Paul writes in Colossians, if you're new here, welcome. We've been going through Colossians. This is part 3. I'm not speaking every Sunday in a row, so we go back a month to part 2. You can see them online. Part 3 of At the Core in Colossians, and Paul has been talking a lot about, hey, we are fundamentally changed at the core, not by what we do, but by what we believe. You can't change who you are by what you do. It's not possible. You can't change your standing before God by what you do. It's changed by what you believe. But he also, coupled with that, says that his goal for the church that he's writing, because at the very beginning of the book, he says, I'm super excited that you guys have placed your faith or you believe or you trust in Jesus. I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited that it's impacting the way that you look after and care for one another. Because he says this church is doing a great job in loving one another, the church in Colossae, hence the book title to the Colossians. He's excited that they've believed in Jesus, that it's making a difference. But he says this, from the day we heard about this church, we've not ceased to pray for you, asking that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will in all spiritual wisdom and understanding, so as to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing him, bearing fruit in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of God, being strengthened with all power according to his glorious might, for all the endurance and patience with joy, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. He has delivered us from the dominion of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins. So here's a group of people who have changed citizenship from the dominion of darkness to the kingdom of the Son. They are no longer slaves to sin and slaves to Satan. They are alive in Christ. They are part of the kingdom of God. They are born again. They are children of God, beloved. And he's saying, I want you guys to grow. I want what you believe to work itself out in the way that you live. See, I want what has changed at the core in you to begin to infiltrate and permeate everything you are and you do. I want you to become who you are, right? We are changed at the core, but the plan wasn't just to be changed at the core and then go on doing whatever we want. The plan was to be changed at the core and then have those truths permeate or influence every aspect of life. That's Paul's plan right from the beginning of the book. Then we go on and we go into, he's saying, hey, you can't add to your standing with God, right? Colossians 2, we're going on. There's nothing you can do to make God more happy, more pleased with you. Because fundamentally, you are a child of God, completely forgiven when you decide to believe that Jesus is God who's died on the cross for your sin and rose again. When you put your faith or you trust or your belief in that as your only way to stand before God in good stead, that's when salvation comes. That's when you're changed. And then in chapter 3, last time we were together, Paul is saying, hey, now begin to think about these things. Keep thinking about these things. Mull over these things. Understand these things. He uses this word, set your mind on things above, not on the things of the earth. Dwell on, think about, meditate on continually who you actually are, because it will begin to change you. Because what we believe always directs what we do. Okay? That's if you leave this morning getting that, I will have been successful. All right? What we believe always impacts what we do. Every single time. So when you do something, you can ask the question, what was I believing that caused me to do that? Right? And so when I fixed the trailer lights on the wood splitter on the weekend, why did I do that? Because I believe that my dad would be pleased with me, my earthly dad, and it's nice to return things better than they were. That's why I did it. And I enjoy it, so I believe that I would have a good time. Right? So that's why I did it. My actions were directed by the things that I believe. And instead of just telling you, I want to show you that this morning. So, lucky couple, Sam and Candace, come on up to the front. You can put this between you. I did not tell them what they were doing, but I did make sure that they were getting along before I invited them. You'll see why. Okay, either side of there. All right? So, Candace, it's your lucky day. All right? You get to beat your husband. All right? So, here's you put your hand on there. Sam, your hand goes there, okay, buddy? Mama? All right, now, I need you to slice, stab, and attack him with the noodle, okay? As venomously as you want to, all right? Go for it. On camera. Go ahead. No, come on. They got to have a better than that. Yeah, give him a poke. One more. Harder. Good. Okay. That's good. She said before, what do I have to do? I said, just hit him. She said, don't hit him. Okay, so there you go. You witness it. All right, Sam, I got something for you. Your turn to get back, okay? This is not a noodle. I got this when I was 16. It's extremely sharp. And put your hand on there, Candace. So, Sam, pick that up, all right? Careful, it is sharp. Now I want you to stab, slice, and venomously attack your wife with that. Come on, buddy. What are you waiting for? Oh, there we go. A little tap. Okay. Good. Okay. If you're like, what? I got to find a way to have a knife somehow here. Okay. Let's stick that back because it is sharp. All right. I'm going to ask you guys a question. You can use the mic. Start with you. So, why Were you okay hitting him?
It's not going to hurt no matter how hard I try.
It's not going to hurt no matter how hard you try. Okay, good. And Sam, why would you not return kind?
I didn't want to get blood all over the stage.
That's right. Okay, good. You have any other reasons, like for the sake of your afternoon?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, why else?
We'd have to go to the hospital, get stitches. It'd probably pretty much ruin the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, it would ruin the rest of the afternoon. Okay, good. Give him a hand, guys, all right? Thank you. Okay, super simple, super funny, super obvious, except for what we saw proves exactly what I was saying, is what we believe determines what we do. Right? Candace didn't have a problem hitting Sam because she believed that the noodle wouldn't hurt him. Right? Sam wouldn't touch her with the blade because he understood that it could hurt her and he loves her. Right? You see, I didn't tell them what they're going to do, but what they understand to be true impacted what they did up here in front of all of us. Right? And that's just true of life. What you believe determines what you do. Unfortunately, I think the word believe has been confused with understand, or I think you might be right. Right? Because we say lots of times we believe things, and yet when we come up against something that would challenge that, we quickly act in a different way. Yeah? Does that make sense? How many people would believe saying sorry, will you forgive me, works in your marriage? Well, we need to do some studying on that. Let me try again. How many people believe that saying sorry, will you forgive me, works in your marriage? Yeah. How is it a struggle? Has any of those people put their hands up, just said, you know what, it's not worth it. I'm not going to say it. Anybody besides me, or I'm all by myself? Yeah, a bunch of us, right? And so on one hand, we say we believe this to be true, and yet it doesn't actually translate into what I do. And then I would say, you, in that moment anyways, you didn't believe it. You didn't actually believe it, right? And so I might say, I believe that being healthy, here we're back to the weight thing, being healthy is good for me. And yet, when faced with choices that would contradict that, I actually believe it's more valuable to me to just enjoy whatever I'm eating than be healthy, right? Because you're going to measure what I believe by what I do, not by what I say. And we see that all the time. People say one thing and they do another thing, and you're like, well, you were lying, right? Because belief is the determines or directs our actions every single time. And here's what Paul is teaching us. He's saying, hey, if you believe Jesus is God, if you think about just that statement, if you believe Jesus is God, you actually believe that, that will radically impact what you live, how you live. Radically impact it. If you believe that Jesus was there when the world was created and involved in creating the world, this will radically impact the way that you live. If you believe he's going to return and you will stand before him and he will be your Father and your Savior and the one who holds you to account, if you believe that, that will radically impact the way that you live, right? So we struggle to believe that, don't we? We can write it down on a test, we can teach it in class, but actually in practice, there's a gap between what we say we believe and how we live. And that is why Paul is saying you need to choose to set your mind on things above, what is true. Because if you don't continue to set your mind on what is true, soon you're going to be living completely opposite to what is actually true. Right? Soon you're going to be living in a complete opposite way to what is true. So I want you to set your mind on things that are true so that you can change. I want to show you a verse that's not just in Colossians, if it's somewhere else. Listen to this verse. Maybe you've heard this. Romans 12 says this, verse 2. Don't be conformed to the world. Don't be like the world or be molded to the world's image, the people who just live for themselves. But be transformed by what? The renewal of your mind, that you may, by testing, discern what is the will of God, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. See, we are transformed and changed in part by what goes on in here. All right? Yes, by the power of the Spirit. But the secret to being different, or to being consistent with what you say you believe and how you live, is to being transformed in your mind, to setting your minds on things that are true. We find that lots of places. We're going to find it again here in Colossians. So before we get to these verses, I want to just help you see something. If I believe that God exists, let's just start with that. How might that impact a day, my day, or a choice? Somebody? If I believe, if I'm convinced God exists, how might that impact my day? I don't have an answer. I'm waiting for you. Anybody? Yeah, you might not be so self-centered. Excellent. You are not the most important thing here. Excellent. Okay, if I believe that, let's go to the next one. If I believe that I was created by God and will someday meet him again, how might that change my day if I was convinced of that? I was created by God and will someday meet him. Yeah, I might be accountable for what I do. And how might that impact my day? Doug, you're smiling. What are you thinking? Yeah, you might want to do the things that please him. Absolutely. All right? If I believe that, okay? Let's go another step. If I believe that Jesus Christ is God and died in my place for all the sin that I have committed, without me asking him and even wanting him to do that, how might that change my day? How might that change my day? Oh, yeah, be thankful. Yeah, how else? Yeah, Samantha? Yeah, you want to serve him, right? Like, it's like he's knit himself. Like, it's like he's done this for you, and it's like, man, I really want to return some, you know what I mean? Show love back. That's normal, right? When someone shows love to you, we have this desire sometimes to show love back. Excellent. Any other ones? That Jesus Christ is God and died in my place, how might that impact my day? We have thankful. Yeah, Lindsay? Yeah, there's a good one. We might actually trust. Oh, that's huge. Maybe if he was willing to do that for me, some of the other things he says aren't really to wreck my day, but to give me life, right? We've talked about that lots of times, right? There's this increased trust. Man, not only is he God, but he actually cares enough to give his life for me. Wow. He knows what's going on and has this intense love for me. Maybe I should pay attention to what he says, right? You see, and so as I begin to believe these things, I'm changed at the core, I'm setting my mind on these things, it's like, oh my goodness, whose opinion really matters? It's not yours, Andy. You know what I mean? Like, it is to Karen, but it's actually God's opinion that matters most, by far, than anybody else's, right? And if I'm going to meet him again and give account for how I lived, man, I want to be able to take him to the basement and show him the job that I did. Or take him out into the garden and show him the job that I did. Or he'll already know them, but introduce him to the people that I helped. Those people that he loves and cares for and has created. Right? If that's who he is. And man, I might trust what he says about how to do life. Because he created me, he understands how life works. And he has my best interest in mind. Because someone who died for you isn't trying to wreck your life. He's called the Good Shepherd, not the thief, right? See how it changes? So the motivation for me to follow Jesus isn't, well, Mom said so, right? The motivation to follow Jesus isn't, well, the people at church will think I'm doing well, or I'll do better at business. The motivation to follow Jesus is, who else can we follow? This is the one who created the world, who created me, who gave his life for me. Who else is there to follow? Anybody else is silly. It'd be like going home and following your Lego man, right? Like that's how ridiculous it is when you put it in scope of who God is and who we are, right? And the struggle comes when we stop and we don't dwell on and think on what is true. We can become distracted and begin to think that that Lego man really has the final say. So we begin to do what they want when their opinion matters none at all, right? The motivation changes. It's not like, oh, I have to serve Jesus, so I just have to go do this. No, get out of the way, Sammy. It's my turn for the next thing in line because I get to serve him too, because he gave his life for me. And there's no one better to serve. And this investment lasts forever. It's not something that will go poof. It's not something that somebody else will inherit when I'm gone. No, this is an investment into eternity. You see? What we believe radically changes how we live. And that's what Paul's saying. God's not trying to wreck your day here. He's trying to give you life. And I'm saying this, and we're going all this introduction, because when we get to the next thing, you're going to go, I don't trust you. Right? Well, it's not my words, it's God's. So let's go. Okay, here we go. So all of that to say this, as we build up, that's what's going on in Colossians 1:2. The start of 3, set your minds on things above, not on things that are on the earth. That's verse 2. Go down to verse 5. So therefore, based on these things that you believe, that we've talked about here, put to death what is earthly in you. Sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, covetousness, which is idolatry. On account of these things, the wrath of God is coming. Go back to verse 5. Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you. Sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, covetousness, which is idolatry. On account of these things, the wrath of God is coming. I think we're going to just go that far this morning, all right? We'll leave the rest of the verses till next time. I want to start with this disclaimer. God is pro-sex, all right? Go tweet that or twit that or whatever you do, all right? He created it. And imagine, I was listening to someone talk, not about this passage, another one, and he was talking about sex and God, and he said, imagine how that conversation went. Hey, angels, watch what I'm going to do. Don't worry, you won't understand it, but you're going to be jealous. Poof, right? And God creates something amazing that is a gift and is beautiful. And it's not gross, and it's not disgusting. It is something that he created for us. Pretty awesome. Okay? That's reason alone to be like, wait a minute, what is this God about? He's created this, okay? And God has created this beautiful thing called sex. But Satan, the thief, has twisted it around. So instead of enhancing your marriage and your intimacy with your spouse and something that you can enjoy together, he's using it to destroy millions of lives. What God has created to be beautiful, Satan is using to destroy people. All right? And this is not a surprise to you, okay? Maybe that we're talking about it on Sunday, but it's here. So I'm just going through Colossians, okay? But how we all, probably every single one of us know people, if we're not one of them ourselves, that sexual immorality, any sex or anything involved with that, pornography, all of that stuff outside of marriage, we all can think of people whose lives have been adversely affected by sexual immorality. Marriages that are destroyed today. Kids that don't know their dad or their mom. People who live with shame and guilt every single day and secrets they will never tell anybody because they're so ashamed of them. Women and men who have been abused and live with nightmares and depression and self-worth problems and sexual identity problems. And as God gives us his word, he's saying, hey, guys, I have created something beautiful. But when you take it outside of these bounds, it will destroy your life and the people around you. And so I'm not trying to wreck your day, but I'm trying to give you the greatest experience possible. But if you go off the road, It's not going to actually end well. It's going to end poorly. It's going to be opposite of how I created it to be. It's going to be something that destroys your relationship with your spouse, not something that welds you together. God is not trying to wreck our day when he says, okay, sexual immorality, that needs to be executed. It needs to be put out of your house, out of your life, not to be looked at, not to be gone to. Run like crazy away from that. The desires that you have that are evil, the passion, the lust that exists inside of you. Run, 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 run. Because that is going to destroy you. Put them to death. And as okay, so wait a minute. If Jesus died for me, like Lindsay said, we can trust what he says. He's created us, so he knows how we work, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, psychologically. And he's saying this is arsenic to your life, right? We can check other places out because it's not just one place. Turn over, it's like 1 page or 2 pages to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. First Thessalonians chapter 4. Now let's go down to verse 3. This is the will of God, your sanctification, or that you would grow, that you would abstain from sexual immorality, that each one of you would know how to control his own body in holiness and honor, not in the passion of lust like the Gentiles who don't know God, that no one transgress and wrong his brother in this matter, because the Lord is an avenger in all of these things. And we are, as we have told you beforehand and solemnly warned you, God has not called us for impurity, but holiness. Therefore, whoever disregards this, disregards not man, but God, who gives his Spirit to you. So this is not Paul's idea, the writer of this book. This is not my idea, Pastor Tim's idea. This is not a church idea. This is God's idea, right? And he's saying what? It is my will for you. And he doesn't say that very many times in Scripture, 3 or 4 times. It is my will for you that you flee or you abstain from sexual immorality. This is my plan, right? And so if we are setting our mind on things above, we're like, wait a minute, okay, seems confusing. It seems to slap itself in the face of what is going on around us and celebrate it around us. It slaps itself in the face of how I feel sometimes and what I personally want. It's like, wait a minute, do you think God knows what he's talking about? Well, if we believe he created the world and is all-knowing, he probably knows what he's talking about, right? And if we believe that he died in our place, we can trust what he's saying and follow that, right? If we believe that he's actually trying to make our life better, okay? John chapter 10, I've come to give you life. If you know the other verse in John where it says, if you want rest, or is in Matthew, come follow me, I will give you rest. If we believe these things, it's like, okay, this doesn't seem to make sense, but who am I going to listen to? Myself. Well, that's a no-brainer because we all know, right? And we know ourselves. I'm not that smart. Okay, so I'm out. I'm going to listen to my peers or the entertainment world. Next to God? Probably not. Like listen to the Lego man, right? And yet this is the struggle and the challenge, and it's real, right? It's a direction from God trying to protect us. Look at this. If we go to back down to verse 6, that no one transgress and wrong his brother in this matter, right? So sexual immorality not only hurts me, we'll see that in the next verse or in the next section, but it hurts people. It hurts other people every single time. It's a complete lie to say, well, it's just between me and my computer. You are so deceived. I am so deceived, right? That will impact your family. It will impact the people God's called you to care for. It will impact your spouse if you're married. It will impact your future spouse if you're going to get married, right? It's a total lie. When we commit sexual immorality, any sex act, lust, all these things outside of the confines of marriage, we hurt other people every single time. And that's why God is like, no, do not hurt my children, right? And as I was listening to another guy, he said, hey, listen, You can hurt a lot of people, but when you hurt a kid that's mine, you hurt one of my kids, you're going to have an issue with me. Right? Well, every single person has been created by God. And so as we hurt other people, that's why God has an issue with that. Right? Last section, check out 1 Corinthians. So go back a few books to chapter 6. Good. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, and let's start at verse 13. Look at this. Food is for the stomach, and the stomach for food, and God will destroy both one and the other. Now here we go. The body is not meant for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. Look, and God raised the Lord and will also raise you up by his power. Do you not know that your bodies are members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them members of a prostitute? Never. Do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute becomes one body with her? For it is written, the two will become one flesh. But he who is joined to the Lord becomes one spirit with him. Flee sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body. But the sexually immoral person sins against his own body. Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, who you have from God? You are not your own. You were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body. Man, our bodies are sacred, right? The dwelling place of God himself, if we have placed our faith in Jesus. And he says, when you sin sexually, it's different than every other sin in this way. You're actually hurting yourself. It says that right there. It is different than every other sin. Where are we here? Yeah, verse 18. Flee sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but a sexually immoral person sins against his own body. Right? Oh, man. You are hurting and destroying yourself. We come back from financial ruin in a way that's different than this, right? And he's saying, hey, warning sign, you are actually hurting yourself. Ironically, it's not a coincidence, but this week an email comes to me from a website that a number of us use to keep ourselves accountable, so it filters what we go through on the internet. My wife and a bunch of people get reports of that so they know where I've been, and I need that so that I'm not where I shouldn't be. And a report comes, and this company has done research, and it's talking all about how your porn rewires your brain, and it's like a drug in its addiction power. Physically rewiring what's going on up here with an addiction thing. And I can't explain it all. I can read it and understand it, but I got those links and I can let you read them. And when I'm arrested, a course on this not too long ago, and the guy's talking about this again, that it rewires what's going on in here. So it's very similar to an addiction. Very powerful, right? It actually makes us unable to enjoy a proper, healthy sexual relationship with our spouse. The amount of people that are struggling with erectile dysfunction is insane, and it's on the rise as porn is on the rise. And so the very thing it promotes and promises, it makes you incapable to do. Not crazy. And Satan is just using what God created to bless you and your marriage to destroy families and people. And that is why it is like you need to run from this. Not because mom said so, or because Chad said so, or that because God said this is going to hurt you. It's going to destroy the relationships around you, and it's going to destroy you. You need to run, right? He's not trying to frustrate you, not trying to wreck your day. He's not giving us all these, I don't want to go there because these rules are crazy. Because that church, they don't sleep together before they get married. I got to go somewhere else, right? Hey, guys, if God wasn't against it, then I'm all for it. But God's saying, hey, that's going to wreck your life. So it's like, who do we believe? Right? We believe what people are saying, or we believe what God's saying. So where do we go? I'll just give a little bit of few points at the end here on, so what do we do? So for me, I was trying to think, what are the things that have helped me the most in my struggle with pornography? Here they are. The first one is this. I had to confess my sin to somebody else. Because the power of this sin is that it's quiet and nobody talks about it. And that just amplifies the guilt and shame that's around it. And so being able to say, actually, this is how my week was, and having people in my life that I talk to about it, and talking to my wife about it and these things has really, really, really helped. Right? Confessing my sin to God and getting help from other people. I sat at the chair. I was going to be an intern at this church. I just come out of Bible school, and the pastor said, how do you want to grow? And I might as well have crawled under the table. But I said, this is what I'm struggling with for years, and I need help. And you know what he didn't do? Fire me. Because that's the lie. It's like, you are the only person. That's the lie. It's not true. I don't know. There's only one man I've ever talked to that hasn't struggled in some way with lust. Okay, so the lie is, and I'm not talking to the ladies about that, so I'm sure there's lots of ladies too, right? The lie is you're by yourself and you're disgusting and no one would ever love you and care for you if you told them. Yeah, that's Satan's hook to keep you there in that guilt, shame cycle. It's not true. It is not true. There is an army of men who are here at this church having victory in this. Because we are talking about it and we have accountability on our computer and we are going before God and begging for help because we know this has the potential to destroy our lives and our families' lives. And so if I'm just trying, the only reason I say that, I would never want to tell everybody that I've struggled, but it's because I want you to know that you're not by yourself. Okay? And so find somebody. Here's the other one is, for me, it was always just a rule, don't do that. And when I understood that God was trying to protect me and give me life, that has helped me in phenomenal ways. It's like I would not go into my knife case and take a knife out of it and open it up and shove it in my hand on purpose. We would never do that, right? Because we understand that it's going to hurt and it's going to cause damage. Right? In the same way, giving into these temptations and going into the way of sexual immorality is going to destroy us. It's like shoving knives in your hands and in your families. Right? And I just say, that's dumb. I'm not going there because that's going to hurt me. That is not true. You would not believe how that has helped me, that truth. All right? Confess to God. God, I need your help. This does not jive with what I believe. This does not jive, but this is hard. I need your help. What are the lies you're believing that are leading there? Because remember, all of our actions are based on what we believe. What are the lies that you believe that lead you there? What are they? That no one loves you, that you're unworthy, that you're disgusting. What are the lies that lead you there? And then find out what is true and believe that and continue to believe that and set your mind on that. Find someone to help you or multiple people who are going to help you. Right? Change. Part of repenting is turning, right? So I'm turning away from this way and I'm heading this direction. And every time I catch myself here, I'm turning away. I'm confessing my sin. I'm trying to figure out what I'm believing. I want to believe what is true. I'm asking for help. And then I'm eliminating, okay, maybe my cell phone in my bedroom at night is just a bad plan. Maybe having unfiltered or unaccountable internet in my house is it's a bad plan, right? Maybe I need to just quit my job because she's hot, or him, okay, whatever, right? But it's not worth your family or your life, right? And you read Proverbs 5, 6, and 7, man, the way of sexual immorality is death. It's Sheol. And Satan is trying to take what God created to be beautiful, and he's wreaking havoc with it. Right? And he's calling us to trust him on this. Okay? So, we can all breathe. All right? Let me pray for you, and then we will encourage one another, and go on with our day. What a privilege it is to be reminded of what is true this morning. I thank you so much for your word. And I pray that we would each believe who we are. We will believe who you are. That the things that we set our mind on will be true and we can be transforming our lives. And God, on this one, on sexual morality, I pray that we would trust you. That you know what you're talking about. That you're trying to give us life. I pray for all of those people here this morning that are just stuck and struggling. Maybe filled with guilt and shame, believe they're all by themselves. I pray that you would help them to see that they're not. I pray that you would give them the courage to tell somebody who can help them. For those who are here that think they can beat this without Jesus, I pray that they would come to you and put their faith in you, and that you would give them the strength to have victory. God, I pray that you would just continue to transform our minds. Lord, I pray that you continue to change us, that we would believe the things that are true from your word, and that would just totally change everything. Thank you that you want to give us life, and that you're real practical in explaining what that looks like. Help us to trust you. We pray in your name, amen. All right, thank you for coming. You are dismissed.